Hi, thanks a lot. Imagine tools, how they could be built today, which would help you to transform ideas you have, say a beautiful game or an animation or a dashboard. And these tools help you to be transforming these ideas into reality on the computer. I think today is a really good place in time where we can restart thinking about how we can build tools because we are so far in mobile, we have touch now, and it's much different than when we compare tools we were building in the time of using a keyboard and a mouse. So before I'm going to show you a couple of things we've been working on, I want to talk a little bit about an analogy I was thinking about. And I think analogies help you a lot of times to try finding solutions to problems we have or to ideas we have. And I started thinking about music. And I want to look at two types of musicians in the music world. One really big type of musician is the composer, and I think we can really draw a line between, or like draw a connection between a composer and a programmer, like a low-level C. I was saying composer, a low-level C programmer. You know, both are sitting, having their ideas in their head and writing it down. They're not really able to test it right away. They have to compile it, or they have to, write the score, send it to an orchestra, and then the orchestra plays it, and then they only really, hear whether what they had in their head would be making sense and would be what they actually thought it would be. And I mean, composers, so they write their songs, and we even can draw a connection to web developers. We write JavaScript, and then we test it on different browsers. So different browsers could be different orchestras in a way, and IE, for example, would be a pretty bad orchestra, so we don't always know what kind of orchestra we're composing for. And then the other type of musician are the improvisers. And I think here it kind of gets interesting. Improvisers literally are able, once they practice for days, hours, months, and years, they're able to transform what they have in their head straight away to reality. They play in a concert, they have their guitar. Here it's Wes Montgomery, a famous guitarist, and they are able to recreate their ideas in real time and create something really, really beautiful. So these type of musicians, I think, can inspire us on how we can create tools for the web. And so I think we already have quite good tools which can, represent the composing side of things. We have IDEs, we have, debugging tools, so we can write code and we can compile it and test it. But we don't really have tools yet which allow us to really directly transform our ideas into reality and, for example, have an animation. You can just draw it on the touch interface. And so now I want to show you what we've been working on. This talk is about the next generation web tools. My name is Nikolai Onken, Onken on Twitter, and today I want to show you 3 different things. The first thing is how we can convert Flash to HTML5. The second thing is how we can edit converted content. So we convert a Flash asset to HTML5 and then change that asset and change colors, change text, change animations, just make it look different. And then the third thing I want to show you is once we have done the conversion, we want to take it a step further, and now we want to start writing something on our own without having to use Flash. And so I'm going to show you how to write and deploy a simple game. So I'm going to do a little bit of coding to show you a little bit how stuff works and how easy it is. Let's take a look at how to convert Flash to HTML5. Before I'm going to show you that, I'm just going to explain you a little bit how we got to writing something which converts Flash to HTML5. I'm the CEO of a company called Uxebu. We're based in the States, distributed team, 10 people. I live in Amsterdam. And we started working on a project called Gordon together with Tobias Schneider last year in January. Has anyone heard of Gordon, a Flash runtime written in JavaScript? So, yeah? Ah, nice. Okay, great. So just to explain really shortly, Gordon is a JavaScript player written in is a Flash player written in JavaScript. So that means that on the iPhone you can execute Flash content. And you can't do everything. You can play a Farmville on the iPhone because it's just a massive Flash game. But the theory is that you can, use Flash content and have a Flash player written in JavaScript and execute it on there. Then last year in October, we started working on how could we extend this Gordon project, and we started the project called Bikeshed. And Bikeshed basically converts Flash to JavaScript into HTML5, and you can upload a Swift file, do the conversion, and then you can change the content and start working with it. So Bikeshed has two things to it. There's the Bikeshed conversion, which does the conversion from Flash to HTML5, and then you have Bikeshed.js, which is a JavaScript framework, which basically is inspired by Flash and by the Flash API, so you can do animations, timeline manipulations, morphing of shapes, all kinds of different things, font handling, type handling, and so on and so further. And so that is Bikeshed.js. Because I live in Amsterdam, the first example I want to show you is a little example of windmills, just because they're very nice. So I went online and I was looking for Flash assets for a little game. Or in general, I was just looking for assets, beautiful graphics for creating a simple game. And so what I found was two Flash assets, which I'm just going to show you here. You see, it's a Swift file, and is it large enough for you? And I'm opening up the Swift file, and here you see a little house. And then here we have wings. I hope you can see that. So just a normal Swift file. So what I would like to do now is, I already have this type of content, but I can't execute it on the iPhone or on any device which doesn't have the Flash plugin installed. And in the future, that's just going to get more and more. So what I can do now is I can go and convert the Swift file to JavaScript. And that's basically what I've done here. I have the original Flash file and the converted Flash file. And now I'm just going to do a little bit of coding for you to just give you an idea how easy it is to reuse that Flash file, which I just converted to JavaScript. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, in Bikeshed, you have a stage. If you know Flash, you probably will be familiar with some of the concepts you see here. So I'm going to do a very simple thing here. I'm just going to load a submovie, which is the house.js, which I just converted from Flash to JavaScript. And so once that file has been loaded, I'm going to add it to the stage. And so let's take a look. Oh, you've already seen too much. I'm returning here. So now you just see the house. So this used to be a Flash file. It's now pure JavaScript HTML5, and this would be able to run on the iPhone. So as the next thing, I just want to include the wings. And I need to convert that. So I'm going back. I have the wings here. It's converted. Now it's saved here as a JavaScript file. I load the submovie. And now you see the windmill with the wings. Doesn't really look perfect yet, but you see, it's pretty easy to just create your own little windmill. So now let's align the wings a little bit so it looks nicer and actually works. So we set the X and Y position. Let's see if that's better. Yeah, that's already much better. Now the wings are in place. And now we can run a little animation. Want to have it rotate. Let's see if that works. I need to, let's see what's happening there. Repeat. Nope. The wings don't want to rotate. Hold on, I'm just going to copy that over here. Okay, so now we have converted the Flash asset, converted it to JavaScript HTML5, and now I have a rotating wing on the windmill. So let's just create a couple of windmills so you just get the point of how easy it is. So I have a create windmill function, and I put all of that in there. So if you use to Flash, you can group objects. So if we want to create several windmills, we want to group, the house and the wing into a group, and then we can replicate that. So I'm just going to create a group, add to stage, and now we need to add the houses to the group, and the wings to the group, and call create windmill. So it still works. And now I want to create 4 windmills, and then we have a little park of windmills from the Netherlands. Now we should have 4 windmills on top of each other. You see it's much thicker, and now we're just going to place them nicely, and then we're done with the first example. So we have x position will be x times 200. See if that's, oh, I need to. So here we now have really, within a couple of minutes, just created a very, very simple beginning of a game using Flash assets, converting Flash to HTML5, and then playing around with it a little bit and creating the first beginnings of a simple game. So the next thing I want to show you is how we can edit Flash content we already converted. What I was showing you now is how we can reuse converted content. I wasn't really manipulating the converted content itself. I was just building a windmill. And at the same time, I'm also going to show you a little bit of the tooling we're building right now, and the tooling which we think will make it much easier to deal with creative content and also merge a little bit how coders and designers can work together. So the next example is, you all speak German probably, there's a very beautiful ad for the Bosch Tassimo coffee machines, and I'm going to convert this coffee machine advertising from Flash to HTML5. So again, it's running in this conversion tool right now. If I right-click here, you see it's Flash, and if I right-click here, you can inspect the element, and then you could dive in and see what it's actually doing. So what I can do now is I can open this up in a little editor, and basically what you see here is to the right you have your code, and to the left you have the preview of the animated movie in real time. So whenever I change something in the editor, it just reflects to the left in real time. So let's change the color, the red color, and make it a little bit more beautiful. So again, this used to be a Flash animation. I just took that from the internet, I downloaded it, converted it to HTML5, and now I have source code which I can edit. So I can have the fill color and set it to green. So I just changed the color of my little animation. Let's take a look at the coffee machine here and make it a bit nicer as well. So what I can do now is I can take this and animate the coffee machine. Oh. You see an arrow, animate. Much better, isn't it? So now you see I just took this part of the advertisement in this case, and I animated it. So now I'm setting the and now it's rotating all the time. Now, one more thing I want to show you is how we can change the text. So let's look for neu, which is new, and change it to old. I think it fits much better to how I'm destroying the ad right now. Let's see, where's neu? Oh, let's do Einkaufs. Oh, there we are. So let's change Einkaufs to shopping. Shopping hit. And what you see now, the text is completely messed up, and that's because in Flash, the glyphs are positioned exactly on the x-axis, and all I have to do here is I can just take that out. It's already a bit better. Oh, let me just undo the Y there. Take that out. Increase the font size a bit, decrease it. And so now I've changed the text again. And that just shows you, I was editing on the right, and I saw what I was doing right away, rather than having to compile it or having to save it and reload in the browser, and then something doesn't work. And it's really, really the first step into better tooling. And what I was talking about earlier about the improvising part of composing versus of music versus the composing part of music, where it would be really nice, once I have an idea in my head, I want to be able to put that in and have it reflect reality straight away. So this is a very early beginning of taking the Flash asset, converting the Flash asset to HTML5, and then being able to change that in real time in a very simple IDE. What I can show you here also is, which is a nice little feature, I hope you can read this here, but to the bottom right, we have real-time inline documentation. So whenever I just go somewhere, say to add child, and I'm wondering, okay, how does it work? What can I do with add child? How does the function work? You get to see documentation which might fit the context of where you are in. And therefore, you don't have to, again, switch context, change to read, look up some documentation. You just see where you work straight away, and that makes your work much easier. As a last thing, I just want to show you how we can, just to make the advertisement perfect, we're just going to animate the whole thing. So you can also take the entire asset you just converted and do stuff with it. So you can integrate that into your web page and then make it move and do whatever kind of things with it. So you really see, a while back you wouldn't have thought that you can do this with JavaScript and HTML5, that you can do these, rich type of animations and this rich type of content using plain JavaScript, HTML5, and CSS. And today you actually can. This is literally looking exactly the same as it used to look in Flash. What's missing right now are the tools for HTML5 making it able to create that. And in that regard, the Flash IDE, for example, is really still one of the best tools to create that type of content. And we need to have these tools for HTML5 as well. Oh, here we are. Okay, and the last thing I want to show you today is, what can we do after we have done the migration? For us, really, the conversion is sort of a way to help people and developers and designers to migrate their Flash content to HTML5 and migrate their content to target platforms which don't support Flash and also which won't support Flash in the future. But once that is done, you want to be able to create what you were able to create with the Flash IDE in plain HTML5 and JavaScript as well. So I'm going to show you how to create a little game. And you probably all know this game. It's called Nine Man's Morris. In German, it's called Mühle. It's not the most exciting game, but I'm going to show you something very specific here, which makes it interesting in this use case. But before I'm going to show you the game itself, just want to tell you a little side story. So I was looking for a designer who could create the assets and the design for the game. And I was hanging out at Dribble and talking to different people, and then I found this guy called Berk from Turkey, which didn't speak English, which only spoke Turkish, and I don't speak Turkish. So guess what language we spoke together? Google Translate. So we literally went back and forth using Google Translate, working on the project, and it actually worked. I mean, you have to be careful working on large projects with people where you can't really communicate. But I think you should be open towards these types of ways of communication, because in the end, if you need to find someone good, and he is really good, and he doesn't speak the same language, then just make it work somehow. So here you see the starting screen of the Nine Man's Morris game. And what I want to show you here is a little detail of how Bikeshed.js is set up internally. So with Bikeshed.js, the JavaScript API, which allows you to create similar content to Flash, we're separating the rendering from the execution of the movie, of the game, of the animation. And that means that you can use different rendering engines for rendering your content. And so right now for this game and for the current state of Bikeshed, we use SVG as the rendering engine. But you can also use Canvas, or you could also write a renderer using WebGL with a maybe a little bit different API. And then the movie execution happens separate from that. So you can execute the movie in a web worker, which is really good for performance, or you can also execute a movie on a node server. And that gets really interesting once you start thinking about building multiplayer games. You know, you write a game, you execute it in the browser first to just play the game, and then you say, hey, okay, now I want to actually have several people play this game together. And usually this would entail a lot of extra work, making the communication work, making I don't know, collision detection work, and all these types of different things you want to deal with in the most easy fashion. So with Bikeshed, you can just take the movie and execute it in the node context. And so I'm going to show you the 9-man's Morris game. You won't be able to see the whole game because of the resolution, but just going to reload. So what's happening right now? It's running in the browser on the on the iPad simulator. It's not running on Node. I can just play the game with myself. I'm just going to do it for a couple of moves, not to bore you for too long. So I have the stones, and whenever you have 3 stones in a row, horizontally or vertically, you can steal or take a stone of the opponent, and whenever one of the players has 2 stones left, that player lost. So, it's all done using plain JavaScript. It's really fast. A couple of animations, like the token flying back to where it came from, and these kind of things. And now I want to play the same game multiplayer. So I'm just going to change literally a few lines of code. And if you can read this, just all I'm doing is I'm replacing the execution environment with socket.io, which is a node module which allows you to communicate between server and client through WebSockets if they're available. And that's all I did. And now I'm executing the same movie on the server. So I'm starting the server. I'm reloading the game. You see, there was some stuff happening, just some logging. And now I'm going to connect to the same instance with a different client. I'm trying to organize the window so you can see it here a little bit. I won't really be able to play the game, but now Yoda is playing. And so you literally see the token being moved on both instances, and it's just exactly the same movie executed on the server. And it's just rendering data to the client, and the client is doing nothing else but rendering. And so I can play, let me see if I can just, well, no matter where I play, you see the stones falling. And I can steal a stone. And this is one way to pretty easily create a multiplayer game using Bikeshed.js. Of course, the overhead of communicating from the server to the client gives you some challenges. But there are these gaming platforms which handle that pretty well. So I think that's more of an optimization challenge than a thing which just can't be done in general. So it's a really, really nice way to building games on for different people. So that's everything I wanted to show you today. If you're interested in Bikeshed.js, you can follow Bikeshed.js on Twitter. It will be open sourced in the next couple of weeks. So you can just go ahead and create your own Flash type of content in HTML5 and JavaScript. You can also take a look at the bike.sh website. There we'll be putting up the conversion. So you can go there, upload a Flash file, convert it to JavaScript HTML5, and then continue editing the content using your IDE or the editor we're working on right now. And that will be launched as well in about 3 weeks. So that's everything. Thank you very much for being here.